Should I continue? Should I continue?
Yes, sir. Kindly, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So now comes the final part when, having been transferred to the maximum security prison in Lyalpur, we were put right in the center. Now, if you can imagine a maze, this was a maze 2.5 kilometers long each way.
Oh.
And it's a maximum security prison in which the Strategic Services Group, SSG of Pakistan, they practiced their break-in, and they were in the center, and we were there from July onwards. So life was pretty much under the army, under army supervision. It was not bad at all, except that we were right in the center. So we couldn't see anybody, meet anybody, and they were all cells, Pakka cells. And there we found out that our army prisoners of war also were there. So 600 army POWs were there, including 2 officers, 1 captain and 1 major. So life carried on there quite. I think we were occasionally allowed to meet the army prisoners of war. And then we demanded that we should have, for our northeast sector prisoners of war from the army, they wanted to conduct some Christian church services. So since I think I was the only Christian in our group. Yes, that's right. So I was asked, that's probably why I was asked. So the men from the northeast, we formed a little place where they would sing. They're mostly from Manipur and things. So they had a common language, church. So very interesting to hear them sing. They're extremely good with music. So they were singing in harmony, and and that kind of singing is very heartening to hear. So I'm mentioning this because in the middle of solitary confinement and hardships and all of that, when you can organize yourself and create a diversion of your mind into something that is more palatable to the mind, or more conducive to the mind, like singing, and also a religious song. Though I knew nothing about the meaning, I could only sing. And then, of course, we managed to get hold of a Bible which they gave us. So, reading some chapters and carrying out some, singing some hymns, which I knew by heart. Well, it was all interesting. It just gave us some activity to do on a Sunday and some distraction. So that helped. And that's why I mentioned this particular activity. So then came the month of December. We just languished day in, day out, nothing to do. In December, suddenly a lot of activity started taking place in this maximum security prison. We were not sure what it was. But one day the colonel commandant of the maximum security prison came to our enclosure, and he asked Wing Commander Coelho that we would like to make a helipad. Would you be kind enough to give us some advice and help us? So I was detailed, being the junior most, and I was taken by the colonel and the guards, and I carried with me about 6 or 7 of our Javans. We were given tools in an open area where these guards stood with their rifles all cocked and ready, because we had instruments in our hand.
Okay.
So I first put up a little pole and a little string tied to it to see the wind direction. And after checking it 3 or 4 times, we knew what the general wind pattern is. And we asked for a windsock. They got one. We put it up and cleared the area enough size to land a helicopter. That's it, and we forgot about it. Meaning, we paid no other further attention to it. Then around I think 2nd of December or so, 2nd or 3rd of December, we were all dressed up, tidied up, and we were taken to the far end of the prison where the entrance is. There on the side, almost like a guard room at the entrance. Beside that, there was a courtyard with an iron door. So the iron door opened and we were pushed inside. And there were a couple of chairs that were placed. And not a couple, a few chairs for the officers. And at the back, I don't remember any chairs. So I think our soldiers were made to sit down, right, on the ground. And then I think we barely sat down for about 5 or 10 minutes and the door opened. We heard a helicopter coming in. It landed. And then this iron door opened. And there stood in front of us in pinstripe suit, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Prime Minister of Pakistan. And the distance is exactly about 4 feet. He's standing 4 feet away from us. And no barricade, nothing. There was a chair there. He did not sit. He put his hands on the chair, stood behind that chair. And this is what he said. He said, "Gentlemen, I am Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I want you to go home. Tell your country that we want peace with your country. And please return our prisoners of war." That's it. Having said these words, he turned around and he left. We were all shocked. We kept sitting for a long time, looking at each other, wondering what's going to happen next. And a lot of excitement building up inside. And of course, there's nothing there, no tea, no biscuit, no nothing to eat or anything to share a conversation. As soon as this was over, we were put back into our cells. And the next thing we know is that the camp commandant was speaking with Wing Commander Coelho. Now, they had planned to take us out, extricate us the next day on, I think it was 1st December. So they were planning to take us out on 2nd December. And 2nd December, there was a huge outcry in Pakistan because the press reported this. So the students of Lahore all descended on Layalpur and Gerard, this place, and said, "These prisoners of war will not go back."
Oh.
So great disappointment. So we then, of course, tried to reach the camp commandant, but there's no way. You can't get out. We are in the center. Center means you are about 2.5 kilometers away from where he is. Okay, you're in the center of the maze, right? So yeah, if you're in the center, say about a kilometer away you are from him. And no way of raising anybody's alarm or saying, "Hey, come here," and nothing. You're right in the center. You just have to wait till somebody comes, till your food comes or something like that. Anyway, we sent a message across asking, what is the thing now? And then he was, now that the return has been announced, he was very judicious, and he said, "We can't send you away right now because the students are agitating and they want our prisoners of war back. Simultaneously, or before we let you go, they want the Pakistani prisoners of war back." Right? Anyway, I think there were a couple of press releases saying that, oh, they are coming back. This is a general public for them, that they are coming back, but it's a huge exercise. 93,000 people have to be brought back. As a goodwill gesture, we would like to send these people first so that they will come at the same time, but in batches or whatever it is. Something, they sort of dressed up a press release, but the Pakistani students did not relent. They started thinning out after this little public statement that was put out in the papers. They started thinning out. But what these people did, the camp commandant, was instead of sending us back by air as they had planned from Layalpur to Delhi, they put us in the middle of the night, I think about 3 a.m. or something like that. I don't remember what time it was now, or was it? I'm forgetting the time, but anyway, they put us into buses, and it was in the morning, early morning. They put us into buses, and secretly these buses drove out. And we were driven to Safwan border. I beg your pardon, Safwan is in Iraq.
The Wagah border.
The Wagah border, that's right. They drove us to the Wagah border. And now there's a very interesting story here, which I'd like to share with you. At the Wagah border, the exchange was quick. There was a border opening time in the morning. There's a border opening time in the evening. So we went in the border opening time in the morning. Everybody crossed over in rank and file after signing certain documents and all. So I would say there's a distance of about 10 to 12 yards between each of us. When it came to my turn, I crossed Pakistan's side and I almost entered into no man's territory, the gap between the two. When I remembered that I just passed somebody standing in civilian clothes and he was holding something in his hand like this. In an instant, I turned around. I ran. It was black and blackish green. I rubbed it, and you won't believe it. It was my mother's gold chain. That Baluch officer, that Baluch sergeant, junior commissioned officer, was so honest about it that his regiment, I later learned that his regiment kept it. And when they announced the return of prisoners of war, he sent somebody, and he was not allowed to come there or whatever it was. This man said, "Sir, ye aapka hai." And he said, "No, but you have to come back into Pakistan territory and sign for it." So I had to go back. And now border time, closing time is coming. So I went quickly. I said, "This is mine." And they knew it was mine because I was the only one who was a Christian there. So I signed quickly and I ran. And just after I crossed into India, they closed the border. I don't know what would have happened. What would have happened if the border had closed and everybody would have cursed me, because this was done on my own initiative. There was no orders for me to go back. There was no orders except to cross forward. There was no officer there. There was nobody I could ask. It was just, I just wanted, this was my mother's thing to me. I had to, it was heavy, some 8 tolas or something, heavy gold chain. And the courtesy of them returning it, thanks to this Baluchi. So, here there's something that all of us should remember. Right now, the Baluchis are fighting for freedom. I didn't know this at that time, that they never wanted to stay with Pakistan. Even at the time of independence, they wanted to be an independent state aligned with India. So, hats off to the Baluchis for whatever honesty they displayed. So I ran across, then the border closed. And, on the other side, the other 9 officers were met by the Punjab chief minister. He welcomed them and they went in cars along with the chief minister to some Maidan where he gave a speech and all the rest of it. One vehicle was left behind for me. So by the time I reached that vehicle, I was put into it and then I was taken to this Maidan. By the time I reached, of course, everybody was happy to see me and wondered what happened. Then I showed them the chain and they all understood that there was a need for me to go back and that I had not disobeyed any orders or instructions. And I sat with the rest of the crowd. Punjab chief minister spoke. Then after that, I think the chairman of Hero Cycles then, now Hero Honda and Hero so many things, Mr. Munjal, I think his name was.
Yes, Munjal, yes.
Yeah, so I think the senior Munjal gave us some gifts. I don't remember because I don't think I took any gift. I wanted to go back home. And so I think, yes, that was it. From Amritsar, we were put into an aircraft, I think the next day. And we were flown to Delhi, where we were received in Delhi by the chief and various other dignitaries.
So what an exciting journey, and with a lot of climax and anti-climax. Finally, with the divine intervention, we are so fortunate that we got you back, sir. India got you back. So
Yes.
we all salute you. Let's all give him a big round of applause to our Air Commander Kuruvilla sir. And also, if possible, you can also type.
Thank you.
So we are so fortunate, sir, to have you back in spite of a hostile country, staying there almost for 1 year, doing all kinds of whatever sufferings you underwent with all our other warriors. It's really first of its time to hear the story. I think some of our warriors would like to ask you some questions, sir, for about 10 minutes.
You know, there's a little bit of after the return, we faced a lot of surprises. I would say surprises. We'll talk about that another day.
Yes,
or
sir.
if anybody asks a question,
Yes, sir.
then I'll cover it.
Was there any quarantine for you after coming back, sir?
Yes, the return was very tough. Also, because we were all what you see, unbeknownst to us, this is a first time experience. You know, when we came back, we were not allowed to meet our families and all that. And I was the junior most, so I can only speak for myself. In fact, this came up in a email only about a month back when I mentioned that when I came back, this is what happened. And I think Air Chief Marshal Tyagi spoke up because he said, I have been Director Intelligence, DINT, and what Kuruvilla say is correct. See, I was put into a room, I was given a whole pile of white sheets and a pen, and I was told that on so-and-so day you signed for so-and-so aircraft, and you have come back today, 3rd December. Please tell us what happened from then till now. And you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to think. I said, this is my own country now. I'm being asked all these questions. And I don't know what others were being asked. But I do understand from the emails that were being exchanged that some of the senior pilots, their course mates came to meet them. I was the only one on Sukhoi from my course, so there was nobody to meet me. And nobody else came to meet me. My CO had come at the aircraft. He welcomed me back, and then he had to go away because we were taken away to, I think, CV mess or somewhere. And next day we had to report to Directorate of Intelligence, where we had to write exactly what happened and what happened in the camp and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so that answers your question. The quarantine, there was a sort of quarantine, and then we were allowed to meet our families, and then we were sent on an enforced leave of, I think, 1 month or more, and dispersed. So that should answer your question, Mr. Pathak.
Unmute, sir. Unmute. Quarter, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And that quarantine lasted how many days, sir? Roughly?
Just 3-4 days. I think I took.
Just 3-4 days. Okay.
Yeah.
It was not for a very long period. Because
no, not only that, you see, this is the first time anybody is coming from Pakistan after 1 year of being a prisoner of war. So not only was Directorate of Intelligence interested because we are still in uniform and all the procedures of, back pay and, whether you become a fifth columnist or a traitor or this or that. All this had to be, all this had to be sort of discerned from whatever you've written or from whatever others have written about you. So
yes, sir.
all this were grave doubts. Anyway, not only that, apart from Air Force, even the Intelligence Bureau, RAW, these two agencies were also interested in us. But fortunately, thank God that Air Force didn't hand us to them, unnecessarily.
Yeah, otherwise it would have taken longer time.
Yeah, not only longer time, my God, I would have been very disappointed. I belong to the Air Force, not to the IB or to the RAW. Air Force can do what they want with me, but you can't hand over your officer to some other agency. unless it's something, something like a criminal charge in police with the police or something. It's not done.